Well, welcome back to another video. We're back. Got a great joke for you. What has four wheels and flies? A garbage truck. Okay. Good to be back. Well, today we've got another lesson, and today it is going to be about finding the hypotenuse. We've been doing a series on trigonometry. I don't know how to say it. And so we're going to be finding the hypotenuse, which is the longest side, and we're going to be using the Pythagoras theorem. Now, in case you guys have forgotten, Pythagoras theorem is a squared plus b squared equals 2, and you guys should all be yelling this at me by now, c squared, right? Where c is your longest side, or in other words, it's your hypotenuse. Now, when we do this, you notice here that everything's got to do with squares. And so what we have to do is we have to learn how to deal with squares and how they kind of relate. So I've written here just a very simple example. 4 squared is the same thing as saying 4 times 4. And 4 times 4 is the same as 16. Now, a square root is just the opposite of a square. So if I take the square root of 16, it takes me back to the original number before I did anything. So in other words, if I take the square root of 16, it's saying what number multiplied by itself will give me the answer of 4. Right, now you'll also do some exercises where you can put it into your calculator. The button kind of looks like this. It should be right next to your fraction button if you're using the Casio FX82AU or something similar. That's what the button looks like. You just press it and then you put whatever number you want underneath. Now, here's the part where they'll ask you to evaluate here. And of course, you could use the calculator. Let's go for a question like this. I'm really enjoying this blue. So the square root of 25, that means in my head, I'm thinking what number multiplied by itself gives me 25? It's not 1 times 1, not 2 times 2, not 3 times 3, not 4 times 4. It's actually 5 times 5. So the answer here, if they ask me for the square root of 25, I'm going to say it's 5. Square root of 30. So 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 6 is 36. So root 30 is kind of in between, and I've written 2 decimal places here, so we're going to use that on the calculator. You press the square root button, you press 30 underneath, and it should read something like 5.477225 blah blah blah. But to 2 decimal places, we should just 5 point, and it should be 4, and we round out that 7 to an 8, so it should be 5.48. Hopefully that there is pretty straightforward, and I will need to deal with that later. Now, here's how we actually use it, because, this Pythagoras theorem does use squares, and we are going to have to square root at some point. So if we're trying to find the hypotenuse, I'm going to let that hypotenuse be c. You can pick whatever letter you want. Now, just quickly remind me, a squared plus b squared equals to what? C squared. All right. So a squared plus b squared, it's going to be 4 squared plus 3 squared, our 2 shorter sides, and it's going to equal to c squared. Now, let's just evaluate what these are. What is 4 squared? It means 4 times 4, and that is 16. Plus 3 squared, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. Now, a very common mistake. I'll write it here. Some people will write, oh, it's going to be 8 plus 6. That is incorrect, okay? It's not times 2. It is to the power of 2. So we times it by itself. And that's how we get those, right? So 16 plus 9 equals to c squared. We're almost there. Whoops. Here we go. Yep. Equals to c squared. Now, tell me again, what is 16 plus 9? Well, that's 25. So if c squared equals to 25, I don't want to find c squared. I just want to know what c is. So I'm going to have to take the square root of 25. Okay, that's the big thing here. So to get from here to here, use square root. Okay, that is the main basis of these types of questions. And then the square root of 25, I picked a nice number. Surprise, it's just going to be 5. So that means that there is 5. And so what's the length of the hypotenuse? It equals to 5 centimeters. Yep. And don't forget your units because we're doing units. I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, let's do another one. All right, we're going to find the hypotenuse of this guy here, slightly different. And I think this one may have some decimal places. We'll say again to 2 decimal places. We're going to start with our formula, our Pythagoras formula. A squared plus b squared equals to c squared. Now, c is going to be this guy. That's our hypotenuse. And so we've got a squared, which I'll let be 2 squared, plus 13 squared equals to c squared. Now 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. And then 13 squared is 13 times 13. So I know this, but I'm just going to type it in just so I don't make a mistake on the video. 169 equals to c squared. Yep. Now 4 plus 169, that gets us to 173 equals to c squared. Now remind me again, what do I do to get down? I don't want c squared, I just want to find c. I'm going to have to use the square root. So now I would use the square root. So c is just going to be the square root of 173. And that one I will kind of need a calculator because I can't tell you off the top of my head. Square root of 173. C is going to equal to 13. And I'm just going to do it to 2 decimal places. So it should be 1.5. I've rounded correctly and it's going to be centimeters. And that's there. That's there. That there is how we find the hypotenuse of the longest side. Hopefully that makes sense. If something doesn't make sense, just remember, hold on, use the square root here. All right, that's what you're doing from here to here, sorry. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Enjoy your math. Bye-bye.